Hi, this is Dr. Jim Fazone. I'm here with Gary Mattia, and you are in the principal's office.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jim Fazone. I'm principal of the SciPec Center. We're here with Gary Mattia. He's principal of the Asping Center. And we have Nick Sikowski, our producer and director, with us as usual. And you are in the principal's office. This week in the principal's office, we have a special guest teacher from the Asping Center. And Mr. Mattia, why don't you introduce our special guest?
Today we have our electrical teacher, Brian Hahner, here. He's going to talk a little bit about the electrical program and what's going on. Brian, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first?
All right. So, hello, my name is Brian Hahner. I'm the electrical construction teacher at the Mercer County Technical Schools, the Assapink location. I've been an electrician for 25 years. I've had my own business. I'm a volunteer fireman. I'm also a Freemason. I wear a lot of coats. I do enjoy keeping myself busy, and I'm also a teacher, obviously. I do enjoy teaching a lot. It's something I didn't think I would want to do. Started doing it at night, really enjoyed it, and very happy to be here and be a part of the program.
Brian, what are some of the things you're doing and working on with the students?
Well, one of the things I like to focus on with the students is work ethic. I think work ethic is something that we really need to focus on, especially with younger individuals. It's one of those things where, a child isn't going to know something unless they're taught it. We can't just assume a child knows to show up for work on time. A child knows what questions to ask. One of the things I like to emphasize too is if you're going to ask an employer or anybody a question, to comprehend the answer. And that's a whole big thing with work ethic. You deal with this a lot in business where you have the individual that shows up right on time, warm cup of coffee, on the cell phone, stuff like that. I really put an emphasis on that. Those first 20 minutes of the day are going to really make the rest of your day either a good day or a bad day. If they know to show up for work on time, they know to ask the right questions, where am I going? What are we doing? What do we need? And then to comprehend the answers to those questions. All right, where are we going? Okay, I have an idea of where that is. What are we doing? I have an awareness of the job site. And what do we need? Now I can go get the materials we need and put them on the van for the day.
Brian, I heard this recently. Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Dr.
Okay, I heard this recently that communication and an understanding of the job, training, so communication and training make up 95% or more of what goes into a great work day. It kind of piggybacks on what you were saying. Do you see any tie in there?
Absolutely. Again, as being an employer and an employee, work ethic and, preparedness are so big. I hire a lot of students from vocational programs for my company, and I find that, they get lax after a period of time. And they need to understand, they need to keep up that level of production. And what, and Dr. Fazone, it's not so much about knowing how to do the electrical work. It's getting yourself there and being mentally prepared. Have a good morning routine. With that morning routine, know what the weather is going to be like, dress appropriately for the weather. As an employer, there's a huge disconnect between an employer and an employee when they're not prepared for work on time. And they're also not prepared for the work day. If it's 90 degrees outside, and they don't have enough drinks, I need water. Or, it's going to be, a snow day, it's snowing outside, and they show up with sneakers on. These are all things that they need to know and be programmed to know properly.
Now, Brian, I know that you had some curbside pickups of some materials and projects.
Yes.
For your students to do. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Sure. So what I did is I provided my first year students with a code book and the tabs for the code book. What the tabs do is they put a tab on each page, and it allows them just to open up from the tab rather than flipping through the code book. So, as a matter of fact, I actually have my code book right here. So, as you can see, there's these yellow tabs here. So each student received a code book with the tabs. What the tabs allow them to do is actually look up an article just by looking right here, and they can grab that tab and open the book right up. It makes it a lot easier and a lot faster. And it also makes, working in the code book not as tedious. A lot of times I mentioned, hey, let's go look in the code book, and you see all the eye rolls. You mention a book in a trade classroom environment, and they just don't want to do it, But this, I think, allows them the opportunity to kind of reduce that amount of that stress of, all right, we're working in the code book today. So also in the tubs were some hand tools and some supplies so they can learn how to cut in switches and receptacles, tape measure. You'd be surprised. you know, using a tape measure, there's an actual technique to it and stuff like that. A lot of the terms that we use too in the trade, you know, subfloor, box out, mark out, emphasis on a lot of those simple terms, because again, these are things that I've done a million times, but for them, it's their first time. And I try to remember my first time. You know, somebody told me what a subfloor was. I thought it was lunchtime. So, you know, these are the things that I emphasize on. They're the very basics. That way I can build them up to something.
And I like what you said about attendance, if for lack of a better word. You have to be there. As an old saying, 95% of success is showing up. All of those things you discussed, I guess if you're not there, you're not going to be able to benefit from what's being taught and what should be being learned.
Yeah. And you know something too, I always try to emphasize, you know, they seem to get caught up in, you know, being an electrician, I'm going to make a lot of money. Yes, you can make a lot of money being an electrician, but you also enjoy what you do. You shouldn't wake up in the morning and say, oh, I got to go to work. You should wake up in the morning and say, hey, you know what? I want to go to work. I want to do this task because this is my career choice. I want to get better. And a lot of things too, especially with a technical school. These are students that are learning a trade and leaving high school at 18, 19 years old and are ready to work in the workforce. 5 or 6 years down the road, they may be a boss at 24, 25 years old running their own business. And I mean, that's how it goes. I remember when I graduated vocational school, my goal was to get my electrical license and start a business. And no matter how tough anything was in that 5-year time frame, I always knew I was working towards that goal. And that was a very big motivator. And I think that's what they need to understand. Once they have an electrical license or a license in their particular field, that's a huge door they just opened at 24, 25 years old.
So what I'm hearing, Brian, is that so many of the things that you're teaching at the Mercer County Technical School Electrical Program are they're good lessons for all of us. That's good advice for all of us in any field, anywhere, and anyone who's in the workplace.
Yeah, I want to make sure that when they leave the room, they have an awareness of what a job site is and what it means to work. And I think sometimes when we get caught up in a trade school, we get caught up on the technical aspect of it. You know, what is an outlet? How does an outlet work? What is electricity? How does it work? Those are all great fundamentals and absolutely make you a better electrician. But you have to know how to act and how to be on a job site etiquette, you know, using the radio. When you're doing a renovation in a residential home and the people are living there, what is the etiquette? Talking to the homeowner, talking to the contractor, talking to your boss. When your boss says, hey, listen, I got to run to the supply house. I'm going to be gone for 90 minutes. Do this task. Okay, hold up. Before you leave, what do you want me to do? What are we doing? Make sure you stop and ask those questions. I run into that a lot too, where if I have something I need to do when I leave the job and they're there, okay, do this. I come back and they're standing with their arms folded. You know, I didn't know what to do. Well, you didn't ask. And I try to emphasize that communication is huge. If you communicate to somebody, I don't know something, you receive the answer, you comprehend the answer, now you can complete the task.
Yeah, I guess standing around with your arms folded is not such a good idea. I remember I come from a coaching background, and I remember there was a head coach somewhere. He said he sewed up all the assistant coaches' pockets so they couldn't stand there with their hands in their pockets. I don't know what you can do about folding the arms, but go ahead, Mr. Mattia.
No, I said, and with you know, the year is quickly coming to an end in front of our eyes. 4 more months to go. Do you have any things on the horizon that you want to, or you're thinking about emphasizing with the kids as we go on?
So Lockwood Motors, right here in Trenton, or by Trenton. I just met with Michael McGee, and I've toured his facility with Mr. Nash, and I tell you, it's very impressive to see what they're doing. And here's a company that is very specialized and has survived all these different things. You got to remember back in well, not that I remember, but you know, in the 50s and 60s, everything was about industry. Everybody worked in some form of a factory or something. Now all those factory jobs are gone. Here's a company that's still a factory job that's there, and they're evolving. And a lot of things that he and I talked about were extremely exciting to hear, because as an electrician, our industry has changed rapidly in the past 25 years since I've been there. LED lighting, lithium-ion batteries, solar panels, you know, clean energy, stuff like that. And here's a company that's on the forefront of that. And here's an opportunity for a kid who, you know, thinks electricity is cool and fun and all that, but now he can actually, or she can actually get in there and use hand tools and get dirty. And I think that's one thing, you know, I like to emphasize too. it's mental and physical. The mental part is having a morning routine, making sure your brain is ready to work by the time you get to work. Physical, take care of yourself. Have a 5-minute workout routine. Keep yourself in shape. There's going to be times you're going to need to fit in a place and you don't want to get stuck going in there, attics, crawl spaces. And again, with meeting with, Michael McGee, it was very exciting for me to see this type of thing. Some of these motors they have are the size of cars, generators, stuff like that. And these are all things that, as an electrician, these are things I take, throw out, and replace. These are things that these guys go in, to have a crane, remove it, bring it back to the shop, pull it apart, and legitimately build it from the ground up. And it's a really, really exciting process. Matter of fact, he also offered to have some students come through and tour it once COVID is over, which I'm very excited for the students to have this opportunity.
Thanks,
Mr.
Brian.
Hahner, we love having teachers on. Gets our viewers and the Mercer County Technical School community a chance to see what great teaching and learning is taking place based on the great teachers we have. We thank you for being with us today. Do we have anything else we want to ask, or is it time to wrap up?
I think that's it for me. But thank you, Brian, very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, Brian, we thank you. And also thank you for reminding Mr. Mattia and I that we do remember the 50s and the 60s, even though you don't. That was so wonderful to remind us how old we are. But we thank you. And it's great to know that there are some companies out there doing the kind of things that they're doing, and that at Mercer County Technical School, you and the other teachers are working with them. So for all of us here at the principal's office, we'd like to thank Brian Hahner for being here, for Gary Mattia, for Nick Sikowski, for myself, Jim Fazone. We'll see you next week in the principal's office. Bye-bye.